Hey everyone, my name's LunArx. Welcome back to my channel. I've had another bit of an oopsie, you could say. I recorded the Glyph Voidside B-side, the entire thing. It took me about an hour and a half, an hour, 20 minutes, something, a crazy amount of time. And by the end, I was prepared to have it, split into 2 episodes even. But I was really proud of what I'd done. I was proud of the time I put into it. It was kind of stressful. There were other things that I'd wanted to do that night, but I really pushed through. And when I checked the footage again, visually, none of it came through. It was a problem with OBS. I have a single monitor setup, so I can't check the footage actively while the game is running. Like, I can't see what's being captured. So occasionally there's this visual glitch of sometimes when swapping between, let's say like the game and OBS, then it will kind of freeze at a static shot, which is not supposed to happen, but I can't really check whether or not it has happened without, I don't know how well I'm describing it. Basically, it didn't work, and I essentially lost an hour and a half worth of footage. I was so happy to get it done and ready to get started on a new, I don't know, I was looking forward to doing the finale episode, the final various whatnots, but it kind of didn't work out that way. Nope. So, yeah, I have decided that with the time remaining in the week, I'm not going to find time to completely re-record at least the first half of the Voidside B-side, Voidside Vidside, and instead, I'm just going to put out this video to say, hey, sorry I'm not as on top of things as I would like to be. I just had another mess up, and there are things that I could do to fix it, like use a second monitor, but I am kind of poor. I mean, I probably could get a second monitor, but there's no space around my setup. I'd have to change up my whole setup, and that could be a lot to deal with. So I'm hoping that in the future, obviously, stuff just works again. I mean, it's all playing it by ear, so what am I gonna do? I can talk a little bit about some of the other things that I've been doing. I've been playing some other games. I mentioned before I played a game called Cat Maze that I had a lot to say about. There will be other things that I mentioned in the previous Glyph episode. I'm really actually playing a lot of games just on my own time. My brother runs a Let's Play channel, and he kind of doesn't play games really casually anymore, outside of for his channel and playing with friends and family. And I don't know, I love recording for this channel, but there's also a lot that I love about playing a game on my own time. It's just, there's something kind of special about it, which is why when I play Earthblade, for example, the next game by the developers of Celeste, I am completely undecided whether or not I'm going to record that or just play it on my own time. Maybe there will be some compromise so that I can play it on my own time, but there will be some kind of content that will make it be worth playing additional time and recorded. I don't know. Maybe when they release a DLC eventually. I don't know. There's still so much that we don't know about the game, but it looks really cool. I cannot wait to play it. Again, these are some of my favorite developers in the world. Matty Thorson was like my favorite developer basically before Celeste came out, and Celeste just blew everything out of the water. Is my favorite game. So yeah, I don't know, this is a bit rambly, but I didn't want to break the streak again, but I just don't have it in me to put together another Glyph episode this week. So I guess in the meantime, I'm attempting a couple more of these early gold strawberries. This is about all I've done. I've done the city, what is it, Forsaken City, Abandoned City, I think, it's been a bit. I've done that A, B, and C sides, golds. Doing B-side was crazy. Oh, I've done a few B-sides. But in terms of A-sides, I've only done chapters 1 and 2. Because after chapter 2, like chapter 3 gets so much longer and it's so many more opportunities to die. I'm probably gonna choke in this room or something. I actually haven't gotten these gold strawberries since I first got them years ago. So this is a fun practice. I wouldn't be doing nearly this good if I hadn't just been playing through Glyph a bunch, which is around the difficulty of Farewell, I would say, which is difficult. Someone referred to Farewell as like medium Celeste difficulty recently. I understand why you say that, but also that's from a position of someone who is clearly very, very good at this game. Just because there are much, much more challenging things than that doesn't mean that it's not extremely difficult. Also, my computer flared up like crazy again just there. I think that's actually the program that I use to make a PlayStation controller function like an Xbox controller. This Celeste should be able to be compatible with PlayStation controllers, but for some reason, at least on my computer, it's not, so I have to use a program to make it think my controller is an Xbox controller, and here we go. Here we got a second gold strawberry. And just for the sake of it, this little intermission video, let's see how far I get in chapter 3. I do not expect to make it to a single checkpoint, but let's see. Okay, that doesn't count. That doesn't count. Excuse me, I didn't even hit a smorg. And yes, I call those smorgs, like from Paper Mario, because that's exactly what they look like. This animation is insane. Still love it. Oh goodness, this smorg adds so much difficulty. That's why I've never even, I don't think I've ever even attempted a gold strawberry here, because it's so much easier to die than in chapters 1 and 2. I've also been playing, or replaying rather, Alan Wake. I've been playing Alan Wake Remastered. Fantastic game. I absolutely loved it when I was younger, and I really love it now. I am super hyped to play... I'm super hyped to play Alan Wake 2, but I figured it would be good to replay the first game first, and I was correct. It is so many important things happen in the first Alan Wake. Events that I've read about so many times in playing and replaying Control, or that I learned more about from playing Alan Wake's American Nightmare several years ago. But to replay the events of the original game after how much I've broken it down and studied it over the years, with how much they've teased the continuation of the story, it's crazy to come back and play the original Alan Wake and think, at the beginning of the game before anything happens. This is going to be nothing if you've never played Alan Wake or Control, but the beginning of the game before anything's happened and you're on the island on Cauldron Lake, to just sit there and think, holy crap, I'm at ground zero of an Altered World event. Control added so many cool aspects to the world of Alan Wake. Alan Wake existing is cool just for the fact that it made it so that Control would exist. I'm not saying they wouldn't make Control otherwise in a setting that is the same but doesn't include Alan Wake. But yeah, so for the context that I'm not explaining, over a decade ago, Remedy Entertainment released a game called Alan Wake about a author who has writer's block, who goes on vacation and loses a week of his life, during which he wrote a horror manuscript that he has no memory writing, but the events in it keep happening. It's about the ongoing events of the game. And it's a really cool story. As someone who once wanted to become an author and who knows a lot of writer-author friends, it's really cool to have an author as the main character in a narrative-driven action horror game. Anyway, many years later, Remedy Entertainment made another game called Control. Now, in Alan Wake, there are a lot of paranormal events and weird things that happen. It's very Twin Peaks inspired. And the world building that it establishes is crazy. But if all you have is Alan Wake for a long time, you think that maybe the rest of the world is normal, and it's just, I can't think of the name, Bright Falls. It's just Bright Falls where these crazy events are happening. But when years later Remedy Entertainment made the game Control, it took the concept of what kind of world at large could exist where the events of Alan Wake would take place. So what it ended up being is this heavily SCP inspired facility, government facility, where they catalog all these crazy and different paranatural things that happen across the world relating to different realities. And it basically takes, almost it takes the magic of Alan Wake and breaks it down to a science, but in a way that doesn't break the magic. It's so different tonally. It's also has horror elements as well. I love the game a lot. It's basically about the closest we'll probably ever get to an SCP AAA video game, and I'm not that familiar with SCP. I've seen people call Control an SCP knockoff, but no, it's just derivative, and I really love it. I think it's a really good game. I did this the complete wrong order, but it's fine. I'm not speedrunning. So yeah, Alan Wake is really good, and then Control is one of my favorite games ever. And it establishes its connection to Alan Wake is actually very subtle. It isn't till like late in the game before it makes some like more direct references to it, because the events of the game Alan Wake took place like a decade earlier, and it's mostly found through like reference to it are just found in like government documents with a lot of like redactions and stuff like that. So it isn't until like late in the game where you start to find some documents that are like directly referring to the events that happened, and then referring to some things that have happened in the world since then related to Alan Wake. And then the second DLC for Control is called AWE, which is both an acronym used in the Federal Bureau of Control to mean Altered World Event, and it also stands for, in the case of the DLC, Alan Wake expansion. So essentially it's like a direct crossover. It's not as... It was a little bit disappointing. I feel like it dropped in quality because it was one of the first major AAA releases since the stay-at-home order for the pandemic. So the developers were not used to working from home, so certain parts of it felt rushed, especially compared to the other DLC. And at the end, I kind of felt like it was essentially a glorified Alan Wake 2 teaser. But it also kind of gave me an open secret that the rest of the world who hadn't played this DLC didn't know that Alan Wake 2 was coming until like a couple years later when they officially announced it. But I knew that they were very definitely working on it because I played the AWE expansion of Control that basically screams, hey, this was all just to lead up to Alan Wake 2. So Alan Wake 2 just came out. People are talking about how good it is. I'm so excited that I know like next to nothing about it. And I hope to keep it that way until I'm able to afford the game and then play it. I'm so excited to see where the story is taken. It's supposed to go full survival horror versus the sort of action narrative-driven game with horror elements, because essentially you are playing through a horror story. So it is technically horror, but not to the degree that Alan Wake 2 apparently is. So that's going to be exciting. And then I'm also hyped as all get out to the possibility of how Control is going to tie into it. Like, are we going to see references to the Federal Bureau of Control? Are we going to see anything like, are we going to progress that story at all? Is Jesse Faden going to make an appearance, and in a way that doesn't feel like shoehorned or anything? Like, if anybody is gonna be able to do that, it is probably Sam Lake, the writer of Alan Wake and Control. But anyway, I'm just a huge fan of Remedy Entertainment and the like joint worlds that they've made between different games. There's also another game that tentatively takes place in the same universe called Quantum Break, but they cannot confirm it takes place in the same universe because they don't own the rights to it. However, Quantum Break does directly reference Alan Wake. It's just Control doesn't, other than like some really subtle references that can't be direct references due to IP issues. I haven't played Quantum Break. I watched the beginning of it, and it was so much cooler than I expected it to be. I watched it like a year ago or something. But I'm really torn whether or not I want to play it, because I struggle a lot with games where you are given too many options that change the story, because I don't like making decisions, and I usually prefer to play a game where I'm playing through a narrative written by a writer, and it's not my story that I change, it is the story that was pre-written. I mean, I love the Last of Us games, and goodness knows those games have you control characters doing things that you really don't want them to do, especially the first game, but also in the second game. But yeah, I honestly prefer that. I don't want to make decisions for the characters. I want the characters to be fleshed out, like Joel Miller. Like, I wouldn't change anything about that character. If I were given decisions to change what he did, I would do it, but that's not the story that the games were, and that wouldn't be as brilliant of storytelling. So, yeah, that's... Quantum Break allows you to make major decisions that, like, completely change the trajectory of the story, and that's not so much my thing, but at the same time, it looks so much cooler than I had thought that it would. And just the possibility that it is connected to the canon of Alan Wake. Like, I don't know if Alan Wake 2 will reference it, but obviously, I'm going to say this now, I'm saying this stuff about Alan Wake 2 having not played it, and also, this also goes for Quantum Break, in case I decide to play it or watch someone else play it. Please no spoilers. If you say spoilers, even fake spoilers about Alan Wake 2, I will delete your comment and ban you from my channel. Thankfully, I don't think anyone who watches this is the kind of person who would do that. So, yeah. That's one of the other games that I've been playing recently. I still got my MMO that I'm playing, Elder Scrolls Online, which I love dearly and also want to get out of. There's more good story for me to play, but also I've put way too much time into it that I can't get that time back, and I want it back. But yeah. This was just kind of a ramble, because I didn't have it in me to play Glyph again. Even though it's taken me now probably more time to record this video than it would be to replay the first half or so of Glyph Void Side B-side. But I wanted to put something out. I don't know if anybody's gonna watch this video. Maybe it won't record. That'd be cool. I mean, if it does, I'll probably just pluck out the audio and then record new footage. Actually, that might be too hard. Thanks for watching. I love you. Not personally, not in a parasocial way, but just in general. I have a general love of all people to a certain extent, unless you do some really heinous and horrible things. I should stop talking now. Have a great day. Goodbye.